chapter clicked in to College Volleyball Weekly on Viral Volley Media. Now here's your host, Rob on mic.
Okay, good day, everyone. Once again, it is College Volleyball Weekly, and we've got our usual suspects on board again, as always. Dan, friend of Lewis, Theo Edwards of CSUN, Jay Hosick of George Mason, and Brad Rostratter of UC San Diego. This is episode 212, if you're following on Viral Volley Media, but it's episode 9 of the 2024 NCAA Men's Volleyball Edition, and it's the Week 8 recap after 9 weeks of play. So we always start with our elephant in the room, which actually is a total blessing for me because that covers 5 of the top 20 teams because of the coaches' teams, because we're going to talk about what they did this week. And 3 of the 40 visit Splitsville this week, while the other one, they came out 1-0, so and lead the Big West. But let's go along and let's talk about, we'll start with Dan and his Lewis Flyers visiting Long Beach State.
Yeah, I think ultimately Long Beach, as we all know, is really good, and we got a little bit of Simon Torrey effect. But I thought our guys competed well, and it's a great venue to be in. They're hosting the national championship, and none of our guys had played there before, at least this current roster, and so it was a great opportunity for them to see that venue and play one I think is certainly one of the best teams in the country. And so, but yeah, there probably just a little bit too much from the serving line for us, and we didn't manage as well as we probably wanted to, and I certainly have a couple pieces that do some things at some high level. So,
well, you did get the attention of some of the opposing team's parents. They were complimenting Lewis's play on Friday night. We'll just give you a hint. The parents' son digs a lot, but hey, you can figure it out from there. Let's go over to Theo, who got the receiving end of the all Valley Karate Championships with Dan's team, the Flyers, on that Saturday night.
Yeah, it was a well fought match here at Northridge, and Dan's team came out firing. Our team had been off for about 10 days prior to that, and it showed. They kind of came out of the gate and put it on us early, and we dropped those 2 early sets, and then we kind of woke up. There actually was a point in the match where there was a little bit of chip coming across the net, and the guys were getting after it. And if you guys know our 2 teams well, you know that Lewis and CSUN are very similar in a lot of ways. The types of players we have, the kind of the grit factor is guys that both Dan and I love to recruit. And so anyways, there was a moment in the 3rd set where it really started to go, and it kind of woke us up a little bit, and the guys came back and fought pretty hard, and we won sets 3 and 4. It came down to the 5th, and I thought they made some nice adjustments and kind of got us in the end. But it was kind of cool. They showed us some things that we haven't quite seen yet this season, and I think is just helping us prepare. But Dan's team did a great job. Lewis is a great team.
So what I hear you saying, Theo, is you swept the leg of Danny, and he came back hard in the 5th to win it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. His flying crane kick in the 5th
Actually,
set.
I think his opposite accidentally swept the leg of his middle knee. And yeah, there was actually a pretty significant injury. Dan, I don't know if you can talk to that or kind of what happened to your middle.
Yeah, I think he hurt his knee. Sack, our stud middle, kind of got hurt, so he's currently out right now. So I don't know. He has a doctor's appointment today at 12, and so we'll see to what extent. But we always talk about that one injury here or there certainly can change the dynamic. I was happy to see our guys respond. It took a little while after that injury, 5th year middle. It took a little bit, and but certainly great venue, great match, and as always, those types of matches are really fun, especially when guys get a little chippy and talk some shit. It's kind of nice. So I got to talk.
Family friendly.
Sorry. Even I got to talk. I think me and Theo both got to talk to the refs a little bit too. So that was always
without a doubt. Well, and I think what I love about this game and the culture of our teams is the injury happens, and it had been really, really chippy leading into it, and the injury happens, and as soon as his middle got hurt, my guys were really concerned, and they felt bad. Like they don't want to see things like that, right? Like obviously we're competing, we're having fun, but you don't want to see anybody get hurt, especially not a guy like Sack, who's obviously a big part of what Lewis is doing, and a great player. So I wish him nothing but the best. Seriously.
Well, let's get the other coaches' takes on any of the matches that Dan or Theo were a part of, since Dan's already had 2 back-to-backers with Big West teams. But Jay and Brad, do you have anything to add on any of those matches?
Yeah, I think Dan nailed it on the head. Long Beach does some pretty nice things, and they're not exactly the speed that they used to be a few years ago, but they are definitely the talent. And Torby is somebody that if you're not paying attention to him, why are you being paid what you're being paid? But if you are paying attention to him, he's still going to get his kills. He's still going to block. He's still going to serve the sun out of the ball. So I think that was a good fight by D. It didn't go the way he wanted. But the All Inland Empire Karate Gym match, if you will, was a lot of fun to watch. And I agree with Theo. I like to recruit kids like that too. And I think, Lewis and Northridge and us, and there's a few other schools around the country, we tend to get the kids that maybe didn't get the scholarship offers at the bigger name programs, and they come in with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. And I like a little moxie too. I'm all right with a little shit tuck through the neck. Doesn't hurt anything. It actually
family friendly again.
Well, I'm only the second one to do it. You didn't give Dan the warning. Why am I getting the warning? Jeez Louise, you're like
I did give Dan the warning.
He gave me the slap on the wrist.
yeah, I didn't see that. But that's the indicative of both programs. And when you get a little chippy through the net, if you've ever watched men's volleyball at any level, there's going to be a little bit of moxie going on, and that's okay. We're not getting to fisticuffs. We're not throwing blows. We're just having a little bit of fun between the net and chipping a little bit and getting under somebody's skin, and there's nothing wrong with it. I myself had this weekend an incident where that kind of happened, and it just, it is what it is. But it's fun to watch 2 guys that I know getting after it, and obviously one of them came away with the W, but it was a great match to watch. I unfortunately only got to watch the last 10 points of the 4th game and watch the 5th, and yeah, it was a battle, and I appreciated watching it, and I liked what was going on.
Yep. Brad, your take.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch the Lewis Long Beach match, but I got to tune in. I saw the 3rd set. I think I saw some of the chippiness that these guys were referring to, and definitely was fun seeing. I actually saw Theo and Dan chirp back and forth a little bit, and I don't know if they were chirping at each other or the R2, but definitely was entertaining. I was like, oh, there we go. I was bummed with Dan's attire. I was really expecting suit and tie, and if not tuxedo, because apparently this is a fancy podcast now.
Because you have to use,
which we'll get to that later.
We're informal.
Well, they had matching shoes.
Don't worry.
Staff had matching red shoes. I thought that was cute.
Both staff are matching.
Both staffs had matching red shoes. We planned that, just so you guys know.
That seems to be a new trend. The staffs matching across the board, which, yeah, that is what it is. But volleyball wise, really evenly matched. I think we had Lewis was a little bit better offensively throughout. CSUN was a little bit better in serve receive. And their serve scored a few more points, got a few more aces. But Lewis served in at it was like 88% at a pretty ridiculous rate. So that creates a lot of stress over the course of a 5-set match on the setter, on the offense, to having to be able to attack consistently against a well-coached, well-formed, well-locked team that Lewis will have. But definitely fun to see. I think two good setters with Morgan and Constable going at it was probably my favorite matchup to see.
Well, I thought was interesting is, so you got Dan's guys, Max Rocky at 13 kills, Seaver Drolsom at 10. And then on the other side of net, Kyle Hobus lighting it up for 25 kills just by himself. So obviously your guys are spreading out a little more, and Hobus had the hot hand. So
pretty sure if I had Kyle Hobus, he'd had 450 attempts in my gym too, just so you know. That guy's pretty good.
Well, let's go to our other Splitsville match of the week, and that's involving Jay Haas, because he takes on Luke's Golden Eagles of the University of Charleston. Wow, that's quite the battle there, Jay.
Well, if you're not paying attention to Charleston, they're a good team. I think 75 or 80% of their starters are all foreigners. And those kids come in and they've got a big chip on their shoulder. You know, they're playing with big teams, and I know they're coming out this week to see Theo and a couple other teams out there. You know, they bring it. They got a couple of guys they can bring it from the service line. They got a kid named Jesse Delaney, who are Delancey.
Yeah.
The last time I checked, he touches 18 feet, and literally was hitting over the top of one of our guys who touches almost 12 feet and was just hitting over the top of him. It was stupid. And so that first night, I didn't think we responded very well to a couple of points here and there that I think could have made the difference. You know, we lost the last 2 sets in deuce, and you know, it's a good team. And you know, the next night we made a couple of adjustments and went out and kind of a similar result in games 1 and 2, and then, you know, had to fight our way back. We were down 2-1 and luckily pulled it out. We were down, I think 14-11, I think at one point, and ended up or 13-9 or something like that, and ended up winning the game. And that was a big win for us. I think Charleston thought it was in the bag, and we had a couple of other things for them. So Charleston's good. There's no doubt about it. If you understand men's volleyball and how it's going these days, these Division II teams and a lot of these foreign heavy teams, they've got kids that can ball across the net. So I was proud of my guys to grind one out. But yeah, 1-1 on the weekend with that kind of team in their place, I'll take it.
From a non-coaching dude here on the other side of the screen, I looked at Reese Delancey's numbers. Night 1, 10 kills, and then second night, 27. What adjustment did they make to get him that offensive production?
Well, they literally just went, hey, there he is. Let's give him the ball. And they just got it up to him, and he would just go over the top and just, you know, pop it down on the court. It's kind of tough to play defense behind that. He doesn't bring a ton of heat. It's not like he has an Ethan Champlin arm where it's just coming at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour, or Camden Gianni where it's just, you know, he's bringing the heat from all different places. He just goes over the top of you, and it's hard to block that for obvious reasons. And, you know, maybe it was a mistake. They didn't leave him in the front row in the last couple of points of the game, but, you know, we'll take it, and ended up with a W, and that was good.
Yep. Any other coaches' takes on the Charleston George Mason matchup?
Yeah, I thought it came down to, you had Liam Friend for Jay, and then Ross Jesse Delancey, who was SIAC Player of the Year at Benedict College last year, and just an impressive athlete. And obviously that performance in night 2. But I think Liam French also had a hell of a performance. I don't know if it was night 1 or night 2, Jay, but I think it was like 22 kills, a couple aces, and some blocks. So I thought those 2 players specifically stood out. And then also for Charleston, granted, we play them on Wednesday, so watched a little bit more on that side of things, but I think their block was pretty good. And their opposite, Garrett Schnicker, got a lot of swings, wasn't super terminal all the time, but pretty effective through his 60+ swings he had over two matches.
Yep. Dan?
Yeah, I think getting a road conference win against a great team is always good. I mean, Jay gets a split on the road, and you know, I'd still go back a little bit. I want Charleston to schedule a little tougher in the beginning of the year. Where does that set the table for them? I mean, they got some really good players, and certainly it's probably a philosophy, but I think when you challenge yourself early and it puts you in the conference play, how does that set the table? But and I think you'll just see them continue to battle with the rest of the EVA conference games. But yeah, I think this West Coast swing will be interesting. How does Charleston fare, and how do they do against a couple of the teams that's going to be in front of them? So
yeah. Anything else to add, Theo?
Yeah, I mean, obviously with us playing them this week, we'll be studying these matches pretty closely. And, you know, I saw the Delancey numbers, the 27 kills. I was like, oh, that's nice. But then to see he also hit 524 while he did it, that's absolutely shocking. I mean,
Jay took the block away. That's why.
Yeah, apparently. But yeah, I agree with Dan. I think to get a road split against a team like that for Jay and George Mason, I think that's just a fantastic job. And obviously those guys are playing some pretty good ball, and, you know, hopefully Brad exposes some of their weaknesses for us on Wednesday, and when they come here on Friday, we can be ready for them.
There we go. It's a team effort here.
Yeah, hopefully their setter is healthy. I know he went down in the 5th with a head injury, but I don't know how serious it was. I'm hoping he's in, because when he's in there, he runs a good offense.
Yeah. Hopefully everything works out all right for their trip out. Let's go to the conference leading, the Big West Conference leading UC San Diego Tritons, who are 1-0 with the only Big West match happening so far this season. That's Brad Rostratter. Talk about your match this week.
First off, we had a former College Volleyball Weekly contributor in the stands, and I wanted to see if you guys could guess who it was.
Oh,
David
Hey,
Hunt.
what?
Yeah, that wasn't very fun. I thought you guys were all going to go with Barnett there, with his son being on the team.
and what was the explanation why he was there is what I want to know.
He was working a college clinic in the area. At one
Gotcha.
of the local clubs out here. But yeah, it was funny. After the match, seeing him in all the burnt orange and getting to talk with him, it was great to get to talk and catch up.
With his 2 national championship rings in your face?
Yeah. He hit me a few times in the arms. I'm still bruised from it. But for our match, it was a battle. And Santa Barbara has been cycling through a few different lineups. They've been going back and forth with Baglio and Walmer, which were 2 setters that we didn't know who we'd see. They've been moving around 3 different outsides between Court, Berg, and then Patrick Kane, not the hockey player. And we were really intrigued to see what they would end up doing. And they had 2 weeks off. They played Cal Lutheran last week, so we didn't really have much to see or much to look at in terms of what they were going to do. So they came out, they had a little bit different lineup, but pretty similar to what we were expecting. And then we didn't play great in serve or serve receive, but we played well enough to create some chaos for them. And our block defense did a good job slowing them down and really neutralizing everyone but Jess Bianchi. He still is good. Crazy concept that if you're good in January, you're still going to be good in February. But from there, after we won the first 2 sets, Rick made some changes, got a new outside in there, got a new middle in there, got the other setter in there, and being Walmer. And they came out with a bunch of energy and really played a lot cleaner in set 3, and our serving broke down. And then set 4, we kind of bounced back up and were able to finish it off. So nice being the first Big West match, and even nicer coming out on top of that first Big West match. And now we're on to Charleston and Irvine this week.
Yep. Any other coaches want to chime in on Brad's match against UC Santa Barbara?
Yeah, Santa Barbara is retooling this year. Rick is a very well-established and well-respected coach and knows what he's doing. And, he's got some players that he's kind of rotating around to see what'll work. I think a lot of teams are figuring out probably a large part of their starting group by now. And Rick's still figuring some things out, and some players are responding first nights and maybe not the second, and kind of retooling a little bit. But Santa Barbara is still a scrappy team. I mean, just ask UCLA. They can, if they're not paying attention, they can get up and bite them. So yeah, it's a fun match to watch, and kudos to Brad and his team. It's a nice win.
Yep. Anyone else on the screen want to chime in?
Yeah, I think I'll just chime in about Sebastian Lara, transfer from Loyola, right?
Yeah, Loyola and Santiago Canyon, Orange Coast College.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a lot of places, but a really talented kid, super talented arm, and nice to see him get in and have some production. But to have this early, for those that don't know, San Diego and Santa Barbara are the furthest 2 distances essentially in the Big West, and so splitting up those matches, giving them an opportunity to play in different weeks rather than having to play the back-to-back, which is traditional for all of the other Big West teams. Nice to get an early Big West matchup and have that volleyball being played in February. Kind of cool.
Don't let Hawaii hear you say that Santa Barbara and San Diego are the 2 furthest away from each other, because Hawaii.
Yeah, they don't count, Jay. They're an island.
Hands across America, never got to Hawaii.
My only added piece was, I'm not sure you want to play Santa Barbara in the first round of the conference tournament.
Yeah, no one wants to play Santa Barbara in the first round.
I know everybody's looking. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see where he's at in a month and where his pieces and tools are at now he's doing things, because they certainly have some talent. I think kudos to Brad for taking care of them, but I think it'll be interesting to see where those guys are at in about 6 weeks. So
yeah. Well, let's go into the rest of the play, which still a bunch of Splitsville matchups. Let's start off with number 12, Loyola at Lindenwood. And in that series was interesting because he saw the return of Dan Mangun on night 2 of that matchup after Lindenwood upset Loyola on night 1. And he comes up with a 52 assist, ace, 3 block assists, and 7 dig performance. But let's talk about the entire series there, guys. That's Dan, why don't you take a shot at it since it's your home conference?
Well, I told you Lindenwood was good. We saw it firsthand ourselves. And so, certainly, and then Lindenwood had to, or Loyola had to play back to back down there. Yeah, I think not surprised with seeing Dan Magnum out there. I'm a big fan of him. He's a super good setter. We know he hurt his wrist in the fall and was working his way back. So I think it was only a matter of time before the door opened and you see him step in and really capitalize and take an opportunity. I'd be shocked if he doesn't stay in that role for them, but they certainly have 2 other talented setters, but he just brings a ton of experiences and been in that role for a while. So, compliment to him getting in there and taking care of business. But yeah, Lindenwood's going to beat some teams in conference. They've got some pieces. You saw Ian Schuler go off the first night in terms of that. It was really good. And but they've got this 3-pin system and a senior setter who's been around, who does a nice job of running the offense. And so, but yeah, Splitsville, like you said, so not surprised with that. So,
yep. Any other coaches on the Loyola Lindenwood series?
I'll just comment. I mean, there were 5 split matches this weekend. And I know we're talking about Lindenwood and Loyola, but Harvard, Princeton, us and Charleston, UCLA, BYU, Pepperdine, Stanford, Linden, Loyola. I mean, those are all top quality teams. And, Dave Hunt used to talk about it all the time. What adjustments are being made by coaches and players from night 1 to night 2. And, that Ian, what's his last name? Schuler? Ian Schuler. 4-10, and had 3 aces and 10 digs. It's pretty good stat line for the young man. And in Lindenwood, Joe's building that program to be a real contender in the future years for the MEBA. And it's taken him a little while to get to that point, but he's doing it the right way. And he's got players that are like Northridge, like Lewis, they got a little chip on their shoulder. And I like that. And, they come in, they play hard. They're a good group of guys. And it's going to be neat to see them come tournament time. They're like Santa Barbara. I'm not sure you really want to see them in the first round because that's going to be a little bit hard for somebody.
Well, Connor Sheehan, the setter for Lindenwood, had 54 assists on night 1. So, it's a new name we've been seeing pop up on the stat line, but some great numbers for him. Anything else on the Lindenwood Lewis Loyola series?
I just think it's interesting the way that the MEVA is shaping up. It's starting to feel like the late MPSF in the sense that right before the MPSF and the Big West split, you just had a lot of really, really tough teams, and the conference was big. There was a lot of numbers, and again, you're starting to see scheduling is going to play a really, really big role in how some of these teams fare out. And I think the MEVA has one of the most complex, weird, interesting schedules I've ever seen. And I think at some point it's going to be a topic of conversation about how do you make that as level playing field as possible. And I know I've asked a bunch of the coaches in the MEVA about the scheduling and like, hey, what is the deal with this? And all of them are like, are you ready for a 45-minute conversation? Because I can write you a book. But it's awesome. It's awesome to see the talent. It's awesome to see the parity. And, we're talking about it all the time in our game, but it's just great to see the competitive nature across the entire conference.
Yeah. Anything else on that one?
I just thought what's going on with the Loyola second outside. They have the Fabianovic.
Fabrakovic, yes.
Fabrakovic. He's locked in, but then we saw Colton Burks return to the lineup. We saw Jack Yentz get a little bit more playing time. So obviously Jake Reed had been in that spot prior. So seeing where they end up settling down there, or don't know what happened with Jake, but I thought that was interesting to see how that unfolded over the back-to-back.
Yeah. Let's jump over their other Splitsville matchup, which Jay alluded to already. UCLA at BYU for 2. And honestly, I started watching on night 1 and kind of tuned out and saw the end result. I was like, whoa, I should have stayed in. But thoughts on the UCLA BYU matchup? That's number 4 UCLA at number 8 BYU. Who wants to jump in?
So I saw this one as pretty interesting and getting to watch most of night 2. And just the dynamic of, night one, Champlin's libero, to night two, he ends up moving to the left side in the middle of the match, and then becomes the best attacker on the court, which is something I'm sure these guys are going to touch on. But I think it really showed to me that BYU's going to be a legit contender and really tough for people to beat. Where it really stands is both teams over the 2 matches, they played 10 sets. UCLA sided out at 70.0%. BYU sided out at 69.9%.
Wow.
And we talk about all the time, the margins being so small, but when I saw that, I was like, that makes sense. And with how the matches unfolded and some of the lopsided set scores throughout, it was a really interesting number. But I think both those teams are going to be really hard to beat and potentially could be making a run in the MPSF tournament and the national tournament without a doubt.
Well, and let's talk about this for a second. First of all, UCLA holds the edge now in the head-to-head competition by 2 points, and nobody likes playing at BYU in conference playoff time. Nobody. It's a tough place to be, and now UCLA has that edge. Should it come down to it, the MPSF, there's going to be somebody left home who is well deserving of being in that final 8, so to speak. Secondly, Ethan Champlin, who's one of my player of the weeks, by the way. First of all, the kid had 14 kills in 2 games as an outside hitter. And one of those games was a 15-point game. Let that sink in for a second. If he's
hit 650 too, Jay. He hit.
Yeah, I was going to mention that 650 as well, and 1 error only, reminiscent of one Micah Ma'a, who years ago when they were playing up at BYU in the 5th set. I'm just going to paraphrase what I think happened in the 5th set, right going into it. Micah Ma'a talking to John Spera. Hey, coach, just give me the ball every time. I got it. I'm going to win it. We got it. And coach went, okay. And Mike, I think, had 90% of the sets given to him in that 5th game, and he won it single-handed. Ethan Champlin did the same. You want to talk about an absolute baller. And there was a stat that their announcers, I think Jerem and his other guy talked about. You want to hear another stat? There are 3 All-Americans sitting on that bench. So when you reload, the bullets you're reloading with are the exact same, and he just goes like this and goes, you don't have it tonight. We're putting this guy in over here. Oh, still same. Oh, you don't have it. But hey, you can hit. Let's put you in the outside instead. I mean, it's a ridiculous number to have depth-wise. But it was a super fun match to watch. The crowd got their money's worth. And, man, 2 teams that are at the top of the heap for sure. BYU is starting to figure it out.
Yep.
You talk about that, Brad, that offensive clip, but what night 2, wasn't it 52 serving errors?
For both teams?
Between the 2 teams together, yeah?
Yeah, something like that.
Gosh, just I get it. I know you want to serve tough, but woo, that's a lot.
I mean, that's not that bad, though. In the
5?
It's not. It's a little bit above average, but it's not crazy. And
plus the air at Provo. Remember, you have to factor that in because that's a real thing.
Yeah, right. Brad, I don't care what you said. 32 is a lot for one team to have in my book. Do you know what I mean? From that standpoint. So,
well, isn't that the team that won who had 32?
I know. So imagine if they had 22.
Maybe it's not tough enough to win. Who knows?
Maybe. I don't know.
Our listeners don't have the benefit of video to see Theo's response to that.
Different theories, different theories. I got it. So
I think the interesting thing to point out, and we talked about this early on, UCLA has a ton of talent. And their depth is real. I mean, it's really, really impressive. And Jay was alluding to that a little bit. But last year, they were a national championship team, and Ethan Champlin was on the left. And we talked about how incredibly impressive it is for a guy like Ethan Champlin to say, hey, I'll play libero. When we play libero, I'll play libero. And I'll be a great libero, right, at that. Now, they have some other great weapons that you bring in on the left to go and replace Ethan Champlin, but they're not national championship proven outsides. We've seen Ethan Champlin compete for a title. And so it's interesting to see him go back to the left as if he's, I don't know if he's training there in practice or not while he's in that libero swing. 14 kills, 1 error, 650, and gets right back into the swing of, I'm a national championship guy, so put me on the left. I think it's going to be really difficult to keep him away from that position. And trying to find somebody else to fill the libero spot is a real question mark for UCLA. And it might be the thing that keeps them from being a top 1 or 2 team for the rest of this season. I can't wait to watch and see exactly how it unfolds, but I think Ethan's got to be on the left, and it creates a hole for that team for sure.
This just in, I heard Ethan is playing middle blocker next weekend. and will lead the country in kills and hitting percentage per set.
Well, Theo, I just have to correct one stat because they do have someone who was the most outstanding player of the NCAA tournament who stepped in to play libero, and that would be Alex Knight on night 2. So
yeah, and Alex Knight, obviously a fantastic talent. Is he a national championship libero?
Well, he's definitely winning the height of all liberos in the country.
He's the highest jumping libero, that's for darn sure.
Yeah, that's
Well,
that's pretty stupid stat to have. Jeez.
Great ball in Provo between 2 top 8 teams. Let's go to our next one. Number 5, Stanford at number 10, Pepperdine, another Splitsville match. And I'll let one of you guys say, let's go with Brad because that was his former stomping ground. So,
yeah, it was, I was really intrigued to see the lineup change from night 1 to night 2, and basically Stanford going with Will Rotman. And I don't know if he's healthy or playing through whatever he's dealing with. But he looked just fine in terms of his performance. He played great, and it's no shock that you throw him in the lineup and then the other pins get a little bit better. The setter feels a little bit more comfortable. I thought one thing Pepperdine did really well was neutralizing the middle attack. Ethan Hill, Adam Chang, both were held down. Nathaniel Gates performed pretty well. He hit about 400, had 9 kills, if I remember correctly. But I thought overall just Stanford's pins were more dominant on night 2, and then Pepperdine's pins were better on night 1. And that was pretty much what it came down to. And I thought Pepperdine, Ryan Barnett, which was someone who hadn't been in the lineup a ton, came out and performed great. I could look up the numbers, but he stood out to me as someone that hadn't been playing, and then he's in the lineup and he's playing really well and giving them a nice spark.
yeah. Barnett had 20 kills, hit 389, 4 block assists, 6 digs for 22 points. But that was night 2. We got to find the night 1 stat. But anyone else want to talk about that Stanford Pepperdine matchup?
I was just, Brad mentioned Barnett. I thought, good to see him on the lineup, and he had 2 good nights. He was good the first night too, I think. So hit 600, I think 14 kills or 13 kills or something. So, so certainly seeing a guy that we know is pretty talented plugged into the lineup. And I still feel like Pepperdine, is figuring out the right pieces. You know what I mean? I think Stanford knows the right pieces when they're healthy. I think Pepperdine's kind of figuring it out a little bit. We've seen a couple lineup changes, and certainly I've watched them a few times. And so, and I think they're figuring it out and are continuing to get better. So
I agree with Dan. Pepperdine is usually by this time they've figured out what the right fit is for everybody, and they're still tooling things around a little bit. And Akinwumi arguably is a player that could probably play all 3 positions and be successful, and he's moving around a little bit. And so Stanford's got a lot of guys that can bring it, and a lot of upperclassmen that are wanting to make a name for themselves. So kudos to Cossey and his crew. But yeah, I think Pepperdine's kind of figuring it out still.
Yeah. Well, was it Barnett's night 1 numbers, 12 kills, 0 errors, 667, 6 digs, and 13 points. So you're correct in that Barnett is having a great weekend of play and really picking it up for Pepperdine. That brings us to, one of the teams that we haven't mentioned, CUI at UC Irvine, worked one of them, watched the other one. And one of the things that really stuck out for me is, sure, William Darcy's now in the lineup and he's beginning to get a groove onto that system, but it's the play of Akil Tangatur, the OH2 that stepped in for Nolan Flexen, who's been so good in serve receive and defensively. And he just chips in a couple numbers, but he's provided such great balance to the Irvine attack, which is running pretty quickly. And it kept me thinking because of one of your guys' comments last week about Brett Schuert's beard game. Like, Dan's got a really good beard game. So Irvine goes out 2-3-0 sweeps of CUI, but let's go to Jay since that's his alma mater for his master's.
Nice. Two places that I either worked or got my master's degree at. UCI and Concordia used to be, in my eyes, a pretty hotly contested match. Concordia was kind of the little brother, so to speak, and they always kind of got, the shorter end of the stick, if you will, in terms of recognition that they deserved. And the coaches over the years kept building that program up and unfortunately just never really got the full support that it gets. And I hope that happens sometime soon. But you're right. Tenkatur is an experienced veteran. He's been there. He's been a starter. He's been non-starter, but he's always there waiting to go. And he just comes in and get the job done. He doesn't thump his chest. He's not, all loud and wild and crazy. He's kind of, flies under the radar a little bit, blue collar, getting out and getting it done. So super stoked for them on their win. I still think Shuey has the best beard in the game, but it's quite a few teams. Dan has a guy on his team that's got a pretty strong beard game, as well as Dan having a strong beard game. So this might be the year of the beard, if you will.
We're not counting Theo out. He's an honorable mention.
It's not nearly as strong. Not nearly.
Hey, I'll give Sherwood some props. He's got a better beard right now, but I've got longevity on the guy, so I've had my beard a long, long time, dude. And lots of different phases, so I'm okay. So, but props to Sherwood in terms of that.
Yep. Anything else on that matchup?
Yeah, I think the interesting stuff, I didn't have an opportunity to watch these, but obviously for Irvine to get both in 3 and handle it well was a telling sign that they're starting to put some things together and get some consistency. Hilaire Heno, I would have expected in a match like this to have a ton of aces. Looks to me, statistics wise, only had 1 through both matches, which is a little bit surprising. I feel like he's had a little bit of trouble getting the groove of that same off-speed serve that he had last year. Last year, he was able to paint it on the 10-foot line, and it was really tight to the net, and hasn't been able to control it quite the same this season. So it'll be interesting to see if he starts to gather that. I'm sure by the time he's playing in Northridge, he'll have that down just fine. But he's playing great offensively, right? 12 kills, 474 on the first night. And then also to see William Darcy really starting to put up some production and be a kind of a staple piece for them. He hit 409, 11 kills, and 8 digs, which I thought was impressive for a big guy getting low, digging the ball.
I just posted that rally on my Instagram as in one rally.
Was it all in one?
It seemed like
Come on now. Come on.
Stat pattern.
No, but I thought obviously Brett's doing a nice job for them. And, to have the type of outside hitter that they have that's on the bench, but still having the production that they have, it's a testament to their team. They got a lot of offense. Yep.
Anything else to add, gentlemen? Brad?
No, I got to jump off though, guys. Sorry, but I do want to give my player of the week. It's John Dietrich. You saw Purdue Fort Wayne get 2 wins against McHenry, a key conference wins, and 1 got pushed to 5. And so pretty sure I've double checked, but I think he had 19 kills back-to-back nights in terms of that. And they had to squeak it out in the 5th game to go a couple extra points. But
yeah,
again, another gauntlet MIVA match. But great seeing you guys. Good luck this week. So
hope for good diagnosis for Ray.
Appreciate it.
Get
All
that
right, that's good.
fever taken care of. See you, Dan. Good luck this week.
See you, Dan.
Well, that leaves us 4 here. Oh my, what trouble can we get into? Well, let's go to the other matches, and it's a team that we don't get to mention that much. It's Hawaii, who's on an 11-match winning streak, played Missouri A&T twice, and if everything serves me right, that is the first time they've ever seen each other. So Hawaii is playing with their lineup too, but they're a good team. We all know that, and we're just waiting for the brunt of the Big West Conference play to see that on display. But I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on Hawaii. Any chatter that you guys have heard? Nothing, huh?
No, I mean, it's just for them. Things will get going. They have this week, I think, Sacred Heart, St. Francis.
Sacred Heart.
But then the week after, I believe they're at Long Beach, so they jump right into the thick of it in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I think the big question week is they've had a couple weeks now where the quality of the team is maybe not at the level of Hawaii. And then this week coming up, I'm not sure Sacred Heart's going to push very much. It'll be interesting to see. You've noticed a few teams, ours being one of them, Dan's being another, Theo's being another. When you have a couple of week break, it takes you a little while to get back into game ready mode where you're kind of in the rhythm of things. Hawaii's starters, I'm not sure if they're starting every match and then coming out, or if they're using a whole nother lineup to give guys playtime. But come time when it goes out to Long Beach, are they going to be in that mode? Or will it take them a little time to get back up to it? I don't know. I don't know what Charlie's doing. Don't claim to know, but it'll be interesting to see if that is indeed the case, because Hawaii's going to be dangerous come tournament time for sure.
Well, and I'll give you guys a little bit of insight. You know, the Big West, the coaches have been talking quite a bit about scheduling, and specifically kind of what's going to happen in the future, about in terms of, is the Big West going to stay at 6? Are we looking to potentially add some new teams, right? You've got Menlo and Vanguard and even potentially Stanford looking to make some adjustments in terms of their conference. That's a question that's in question right now. In addition to that, we're talking about the month of February, because the month of February, due to the fact that most of the other conferences have started competition, the scheduling is brutal and can be really, really difficult. And obviously for a team like Hawaii, who's got to get on a plane and go quite a distance in order to get matches, that February schedule is really, really complicated for them. And so I just had a conversation with Charlie this past week and talking about kind of where do we try and position ourselves in the future to continue to make sure that February is a really competitive month, and how can we do that from a scheduling perspective to really benefit the Big West. So I'll keep you posted on the podcast in terms of where that discussion lies, but it's really interesting, and I think it's a valuable one to be had for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked about that. There's a few conferences that only have 6 teams in it. NEC being one, Big West, and the EIVA. And
SIAC too, but they go to 7 with a new program they just added.
Yeah. So you got some problems or challenges, if you will, with number of sheer matches in the conference. And if you're trying to play those matches, obviously in April, which is where the playoffs start, and then you look at March and you shift around a little bit because of everybody's spring breaks, doesn't leave a lot of stuff in February to be able to have to play conference matches. And so I'm interested to see what the Big West does with that. I've heard the rumblings. I'm not sold that they're happening yet, because I'm not sure Menlo and Vanguard fit the scope and the volume of the programs that they're joining in. And what about the MPSF? They're going to be in that similar boat. So I know that there's applications going both directions, and everybody's kind of wondering where it's going to go. There's also talk of Stanford going to the Big Ten when that happens. And there's another school in the country they're looking at adding as well. The challenge I think all conferences have moving forward is, if we all remain low in numbers, with the MEVA having the most right now, right? They have 9 teams or so, 10 teams. With all these conferences being really, really small, there's some talk of maybe a hard start happening in January, which will take away a couple of weeks in January where some teams are already coming back into practice, coming back in for matches. And if everybody has a hard start, that will shrink the season a little bit, which might help with scheduling. But we don't know where that's going to fall. We don't know if it's even going to happen or not. But the championships are getting pushed back a week as well. So we're adding another week with still the same amount of teams in our conferences. I think in the next 3 years or so, it's going to be interesting to see which conferences add, how they add, where do they fit in the whole grand scheme of things? Do conferences combine? So it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the challenges that we're up against from a Big West perspective is the local teams, which are easy freeway matches. A lot of them are MPSF. And so, Jay, to your point, if the MPSF absorbs another 2, maybe 3 teams, now their schedule starts in early February, and essentially we get blacked out from being able to play them any other month than January. And as we start to push back, as we're talking about with the championship pushing back, everyone is trying to say, hey, let's let our guys have some time with their families around Christmas. Because right now, most teams are coming back shortly after Christmas and getting right into season. If you start to push back, you're talking about a 4-week window for the inexpensive freeway matches for both the MPSF and the Big West. it's an interesting issue that I don't know that anybody really thought about in the foresight of at least the foresight of the split of the two conferences. So it'll be interesting to see where this heads and kind of how we mitigate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the topic is the Jeff Goldblum response in Jurassic Park. It's great that we could do it, but should we? And I think when the conferences were splitting apart and everybody's making their moves, hey, that's great, we can do this now, but should we? Is it going to help out? And I don't think the foresight was definitely being talked about for sure.
Yeah. Well, we do have a third team in that's going to be coming in. You said already mentioned Vanguard and Menlo, but there's also Robert Jessup College in Northern California.
William Jessup.
William Jessup, Robert Jessup. I'm thinking maybe a Top Gun. I don't know. That character, Jester, cool name, by the way. But they're with the additional teams in Northern California now, I'm wondering where they're going to fall. I thought I've read in the releases those three are going to MPSF regardless. But
if William Jessup is smart, and I'm not saying they are, I'm not saying they aren't. That choice of words. I would just jump on board with wherever Stanford goes because that's a natural travel partner for them. It's still a 2-hour drive, but
Stanford's going to be with Menlo though.
Well, that's also true. That's very, very true. So Jessup might be on their own, which might suck, but they'll be the Hawaii model, which is what everybody else seems to be doing these days. But it'll be interesting to see what the MPSF does because that conference, if you've been a part of it as long as all of us have, it has gone from the absolute juggernaut that it used to be with 13 or 14 teams that were just nasty to all of a sudden now having really small group of really, really well-known teams, and then a whole host of new schools that really have no history whatsoever. And so the MPSF gets watered down a little bit, but it takes time to build a program. You never know where those teams end up in 5-10 years.
Yeah. Well, the other team that we need to mention because they've got an astounding 13-match winning streak and are 13-0 this season, that would be the Grand Canyon Lopes. Thoughts on what they're doing so far after the 2 wins with USC in Phoenix, and then prior to that, the 2 wins at BYU we already talked about.
Listen, I'm just going to quote Fred Durst: "Keep rolling, 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 rolling." They're just doing their job, man. They're going out and they're crushing people. So they got my number 1 vote, hands down. Until somebody beats them, they're going to be my number 1, hands down.
Ooh, look at that, strong. And then Brad or Theo, anything else to add on Grand Canyon?
I mean, they're just playing with a lot of poise right now. And there was even a stretch. They're up 2-0 on USC night 2. And I think SC was up 24-22. And they side out, they earn a point, and they end up winning 29-27 after an ace by Rico Wardlow gives them advantage. Then, a couple side outs back and forth, they take the match. And just seeing that, and it looked like Carter Rogers, at least in the live stream, looked like he was pretty tired or maybe beat up or just kind of worn down from the back-to-back. And, and they're just humming on all cylinders, and I think, that 3-headed monster of Nick Slight, Gianni, and Jackson Hickman, is supported really, really well. I thought their libero, from what I saw early on in the year, was a question mark, and seems like he really has solidified his role there and really gotten really comfortable in serve receive with Hickman and Rogers alongside of him.
Well, it seems in the coaching circles, Nick Slight has also been getting a lot of the attention because he's been doing a really good job. And I haven't seen Grand Canyon in person, but, obviously the winning speaks for itself. So doing some great jobs. He's got great options. I really feel like Cameron Thorne and Rico Wardlow are the ignored offensive threat on that because they have the 3-headed monster of Gianni, Rogers, and I'm forgetting the other, Hickman. So, but I've watched what they've been doing. They string together points defensively and offensively.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on, Rob. That's exactly where I was headed with this. Nick Slight is, he's quite a talent. And, I think he's one of those players that we've all seen over the years where, at first, and for sure coming out of high school and as a young volleyball player, he wasn't a guy that you necessarily was the first thing you notice when you walk in the gym, but to have the type of season that they're having right now, because they're not, unlike a lot of the other teams, they're not just undefeated. They are beating teams with absolute consistency and every single night playing at a really high level. I mean, those 2 sweeps over BYU are probably some of the most impressive wins that I've seen in the last few years. I mean, really, really impressive to go up to BYU and do what they did after now watching UCLA have to really battle with that team just to get 1-5 up there. But yeah, Nick Slight is, I think, the reason for that. Hickman's fantastic, and I would definitely not say that we are sleeping on Rico or, you know, they're that middle attack that those 2 guys that they have is fantastic. Those guys are great athletes. They're great IQ volleyball players. They play with a lot of great energy, and you know, obviously, we're not talking about Camden Gianni every single week, but we should. I mean, he's a really, really talented player too. So this is, in my book, I agree with Jay. I mean, this might be our number 1 team right now, and if they can continue this, I mean, this would be an absolute historic season.
How many sets have you guys think Grand Canyon's lost on the year?
4.
I don't know.
1,
3.
3.
12
Crazy.
matches. So what? That's what, 36
That's impressive.
and 3 in terms of their sets. Like, that's consistency. And then Long Beach, obviously really, really good and right there in that conversation. I think they've gone 4 in about half of their matches. You know, and that's just off the top of my head. But yeah, I think on Rob and Theo's point with the middles with Thorne and Wardlow, I think Matt August, who's the assistant there with Matt Worley as the head coach, he's been doing a great job with those middles, whether it be Cameron Thorne getting thrown in the lineup last year as a true freshman and helping them out blocking wise and offensively. But I think, yeah, they're really good, and they've been good for the last 2 years. So it's not really a shock, but I think that consistency has really taken a step up.
I gotta give August a little love here. He is a good coach. Also fellow Irvine Valley guy like myself. So super stoked.
And UC Irvine and Hawaii.
That's right. But for those of you that want some comparison of what Nick Slight is doing, he reminds me very much of a 15-year ago setter, if you remember the name, Luke Murray from Penn State when they won in 2008. Smaller, undersized. Slight's probably 6'2" or 6'3". Luke was 6 foot with shoes on if he was lucky. But he ran a very similar offense, and he had players around him that had different needs, but he was able to provide each player with exactly the set that they needed. You could see him similar style, similar body type, similar ability to sling the rock around, but it all looks really calm, cool, and collected. And all he's doing is going, hey, this guy's good. Let's go get him one. Let's go get this guy one. And everything's in the right spot. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about Camden Gianni but not for his play, but realize that it was 5 years ago that he actually had to be resuscitated. He had died for a few seconds to late end of 2019. And I believe we're recording near his anniversary of his procedure. So
it was the end of January.
Yeah. So I did the interview during COVID with Camden, and I was like, dang. And then he came back, became, I guess, one of the jokes is freshman of the year twice. But I mean, he's a legitimate player and a remarkable story. Google it. He's been on so many different media shows, but I mean, just the response of the trainer and another administrator on campus, keep him alive, then stay alive and do what he's doing now. It's a great story. I think
Worley was the guy that started the whole process to get him resuscitated. So got to give Worley a little credit too.
Definitely so. Well, with that, let's, I know Dan already dropped his player of the week, but how about you guys? Let's go. Jay, I've been having you go last quite a bit, so let's have you go first this time.
Yes. I got 2 for you. Ethan Champlin, taking off the libero jersey, putting on the outside hitter jersey for 2 games, 14 kills, 1 error, hitting 650 in the win against UCLA, against BYU at home or at their place. It's a massive jump in 2.5 games. The other one is Jesse Delancey from Charleston, a guy we saw this week. He had 10 kills, hit 381 in the first night. 27 kills and 524 the second night. The kid is no joke in an altitude space that not a lot of people have. Yeah, he's got my nod for the week as well.
Yep. Let's go over to Brad.
Ooh, I got two. I'm gonna go the three-headed monsters we were just talking about. I got Gianni, Hickman, and Slight from Grand Canyon off their 2-match win to start off MPSF play.
Oh, I thought you were going with Rogers. Okay, that works too. It's still a three-headed monster. But let's go to Theo.
Yeah, I got two as well. I'm gonna go Teo Snooey, right, for their victory over Pepperdine. He's been good all year, but I thought this was a particularly good match for him specifically. And then the other one is Hilir Heno. Two really, really solid performances over Concordia, both over 400, both double-digit kills. He's playing some pretty good ball right now.
Yeah, he's coming off a week where he is both the ABCA Player of the Week and the Big West Player of the Week, and not doing it from the service line, but he's finding out how to do it at the net. So, yeah, we'll take those points any way we can in Irvine.
And he was my Player of the Week last week too. So
oh yeah, that's right. That's the most important thing. Interesting week coming up here in week 9, though. I had a hard time picking matches that I'd want to watch. You know, I like when I'm off and I can have like 5 monitors in front of me, but I actually got to work a few this week, so I can only watch like one other one while I'm working the one I'm at. So curious what you're watching. We'll go reverse order. Go, Brad. What are matches on your radar?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is this week I'm not going to be watching much volleyball. That's not it's not the teams we're playing. But I think one under the radar match that I wanted to talk about is North Greenville versus Belmont Abbey. I believe that's for first in Conference Carolinas. Both those teams are 5-0, 5-1, but having good years out there. So I think that will be that'll be one that sets them up for a really good spot come Conference Carolina tournament. And then I think Penn State Long Beach is going to be one that's going to be great to watch and a really good test for Penn State. They've been playing really good to kick off EVA play, and then seeing them compete against one of the top teams in the country and see how they respond after in Austin, Texas at the First Point Challenge. It didn't go so well. So I think it'll be cool seeing them now that they're playing a little bit better.
Brad, I figured you would have mentioned that you would have had 2 Big West matches under your belt by the end of this week as you come to Irvine on Sunday.
3?
Oh, what's yours?
Irvine comes down on Friday.
Oh, I thought we were there for Wednesday. I guess I should learn my schedule better, huh?
Yeah, we have Charleston Wednesday, Irvine Friday, Irvine Sunday.
Wow. Full week for the Tritons then, huh?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be real. I'm not gonna watch any of these matches. So, but I'll still talk about them on Monday.
You'll just watch them in 10 minutes on Volleymetrics.
Right.
Let's go over to Theo. What's on your hot list?
Yeah, man, there's so many good matches that it's going to be difficult for me to pick. So I'm just going to throw a bunch out that I think are going to be really awesome. I'm going to be watching all of Brad's matches, mostly because one, he's playing Charleston, which obviously we are too. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Also, I think the Lindenwood McKendree matchup, I think is going to be really, really interesting. Super high level. And I think, those two teams are both playing some pretty good ball right now. Obviously, Lindenwood coming off of some big wins last week and McKendree licking their wounds. So it'd be interesting to see how that team bounces back. And then you've got Princeton and George Mason, which I think is going to be one hell of a matchup. Obviously, an EIVA matchup. Now, is that at home, Jay, or is you on the road?
So we are on the road against Princeton Friday, and we play home against St. Francis on Saturday.
Okay. So you're in New Jersey, middle of the suburbs. Yeah, that's going to be a great matchup. Can't wait to see that. And then I think the Stanford GCU match, right? So obviously we're talking about the 3-headed monster. We're talking about Nick Slight, but the return of Rotman and maybe a potential week under his belt of getting healthy and getting up to speed. Be interesting to see how GCU handles Stanford.
Yeah. Good calls. Over to Jay.
I too think the North Greenville Belmont Abbey is going to be good to watch because we have not been given Conference Carolinas enough pub this year. Not because they're not deserving, but because there's just a lot of other teams that are maybe doing things at a little bit of higher clip. But two very good programs fighting for first place in their conference. I too will be watching Penn State Long Beach. You'll see where Penn State falls in the whole grand scheme of things. I will be watching Loyola and Ohio State, see how Loyola responds after getting beat by Lindenwood and also losing Ohio State in 5 the first time they saw them. So I want to see how they respond there. I also will be watching, sponsored by Fred Durst, Stanford versus Grand Canyon. See if Grand Canyon can keep it rolling. But here's the match of the week. Sponsored by Kangaroo Shoes, CSUN versus Charleston. Both teams have a guy that touched 18 feet, and they're facing off against each other in front of the net and thing. So you got Jesse Delancey and you got Jalen Phillips, both who play at an altitude that the rest of us need binoculars to be able to see. These guys are going to be battling it up in the NASA zone. It's going to be crazy. And I don't know who's going to win it because they're both really, really good teams. It'll be interesting. And I will be watching that with binoculars because I won't be able to see them either. They'll be out of the gym. They're going to be on the screen and bouncing out of it like the old volleyball games. You won't be able to see them. So
there's no need for the dome at the Matadome because these guys will be flying out of it.
You can't contain them. You can't. You just got to hope that they come back down, don't break an ankle, for Christ's sakes. These kids are just giant flyers.
Well, I'm going to pick one because no one named this one out there. LA Crosstown Series, UCLA and USC. Yeah, one's 4, the other is in the 10 range, but you throw that out the window when it's a crosstown rivalry between these two schools because they want that Lexus Cup. They want those bragging rights in their gyms. So, and the fact of the matter is USC's got some really good things going on between Duker and Klein really picking it up for the team, but they've got middles that just aren't getting the love that they should be getting, and Kyle Paulson and Wes Smith, because they are playing some good ball in the middle. And Wes Smith is 7 foot. I mean, he's a thick kid for a freshman. So
McCregan at UCLA is 6'11", so that cancels out.
So we've got a lot of great matches. Still Big West only 3 matches apparently now. Brad corrected me, and this is realize SIAC goes into full effect this week also. But interesting on their schedule, they're playing some of those teams twice in the same day. So I guess that's how they've had to work it out. But we'll start seeing some SIAC records as well as we go on. But with that concludes week 9, episode 9 of our men's college volleyball weekly top 20. Dan Ray say goodbye, so whatever. Theo Edwards of CSUN, Jay Hosick of George Mason, Brad Rostratter of UC San Diego. Best of luck to you this week. Looking forward to catching your matches.
Thanks for listening to College Volleyball Weekly. Be sure to follow Rob Aspero at the Rob on the Mic on Instagram and at Rob on the Mic on Twitter.